The liberal agenda of demonizing the past administration for keeping Americans safe hit a slight bump in the road today. Well, actually, it's more like a crater. After saying that she knew nothing about waterboarding when it was going on, well, the San Francisco speaker, she got caught fudging one important detail, and that is our headline this Friday night. Nancy Pelosi knew. Oh, yes, she knew all right. According to CIA memos, Pelosi and other House leaders were briefed on the enhanced interrogation practices used against the captured terrorist Abu Zubaydah as early as September 2002. And by the way, that included waterboarding. But that's not what she told the American people just a couple of weeks ago.
We were not, I repeat, not told that waterboarding or any of these other enhanced interrogation methods were used.
Now, Pelosi responded today saying that she was only briefed that once on interrogation techniques that the administration was considering using and that the techniques had been determined to be legal. Well, Madam Speaker, what's it going to take to get the truth out of you? Joining me tonight with more is columnist, author of the New York Times bestseller, Guilty Liberal Victims, Their Assault on America, the one and only Ann Coulter is with us. And she knew. She lied. She got caught. She knew. So,
yes, and thank you for bringing me in, as I am a specialist on Democrat lies. And this is the classic Democrat lie. I mean, it really is the Clintonian thing about, she touched me, but I didn't touch her. I never understood why this would make this monumental difference. She was told what interrogation technique was going to be used, but it hadn't been used yet. Well, so what? If this were torture, as these sissy liberals are claiming, I think she would have noticed, even if they were using it next month or next year, if this were cutting off a prisoner's healthy arm, if this were putting maggots in an open wound, if this were waterboarding someone to the point of drowning him, I think she would have noticed. It just proves for the 8 billionth time that nothing they did, except maybe the caterpillar, constituted torture.
Well, for those that don't know what the caterpillar is, that they would put a caterpillar in a confined area with one of the terrorists. And we went through this last night. Now, here it is, though. They're politicizing national security.
Right.
They're emboldening our enemies in the process. Now that they're going to release, not only the techniques, but the photos and everything else. What is it? Right. Why can't the American people get and understand that they are literally politicizing the most important issue of our time?
Well, it's not just politicizing it. It's that we're getting the same sort of sophistical arguments and outright lies as we did get under Clinton. But at least, in that case, it was just to defend a horny hick. Now it's to run down the policies that kept America safe for 7.5 years. I mean, the claim, as I wrote about in my column this week, that waterboarding constituted a war crime when the Japanese did it after World War II is utter nonsense. Their version of the water cure, the best version was to fill the prisoner's stomach with water, fill it until the stomach was distended, and then smash down on the stomach so that the prisoner would vomit. Sometimes they'd waterboard with salt water, killing the prisoner. So that is not, waterboarding, the Japanese version of the water cure. But as in the Clinton era, when I first met you, I think, Sean, these lies, they just keep coming fast and furious, and you have to spend a week looking up what the truth is, and then it turns out it's a lie, and they just move on.
Well, and the more important thing, we're going to show people later that Eric Holder was questioned by senators this week about the issue of rendition, which is where they would literally, in the Clinton administration, send terrorists and people responsible for crimes to countries where they knew that they would be tortured. And Eric Holder was, a humada all week, which I think is far worse considering our, quote, waterboarding had very strict rules associated with them.
Our waterboarding, as I've pointed out before, has been submitted to by various male hosts on Fox News. There was a period there when I must have been like Sweeps Week, where every time I turned on TV, I'd see a Fox News correspondent being waterboarded. People don't, journalists keep submitting themselves not only on Fox, but submitting themselves to waterboarding and then saying, that was torture. No, you wouldn't submit to it if it were attaching electrodes to your testicles. That's torture. And Nancy Pelosi hearing about this, but it wasn't going to be practiced until a month from now. That's torture. Dunking somebody's head in water is not something that the Japanese were prosecuted for, and it certainly is not torture.
Well, I heard that Joy Behar asked you if you wanted to be waterboarded, and your answer was?
asked her if she wanted to be aborted since she supports the right to abortion, which is my new idea for our detainees at Guantanamo, that we just submit them to what liberals consider one of our precious constitutional rights, a partial birth abortion.
Right. Let me ask you this, because Barack Obama, we found out, is going to speak to the Muslim world in June. I think June 4th is the actual date. All right, so he calls America arrogant when he's on the European apology tour. Basically, when he goes to Mexico, he suggests that we're responsible for border violence. And when he was in Turkey for that period of time, he said, well, America's not at war with Islam. He already spoke to Al Arabiya television, his first interview. So is this going to be now the Middle East version of I'm apologizing for being an American?
Well, we already had him bowing to a Saudi king, which was good, and skipping the national prayer breakfast yesterday. No, I think we have an idea, what the whole mentality of this administration is. I mean, that is what is so striking about the flyover over the Statue of Liberty. The photo was released today, and the Democrat, I noticed the guy who resigned over this, the director of the Office of the Military in the White House, he keeps being described as if he's just a military guy, like we're dealing with, Petraeus here. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. He was in the Democratic Assembly. He worked for Clinton, and now he's working for Obama. He is a Democrat, and like Gary Condit, he will not be described that way in the media. But anyway, he authorizes this, and what is so shocking about it, I mean, okay, people can make mistakes, but it is just this pure September 10th mentality of this administration.
Well, there's one other thing, though. I mean, is he going to take the fall for this? Are they saying that he actually had that power? All right, I've got to ask you one last question, because Colin Powell apparently is not that fond of Ann Coulter, and Rush Limbaugh thinks the country wants higher taxes to pay for services, and the Republicans, and by the way, he voted for Obama, need to move to the right. Your response to him?
I think, once again, Republicans should not listen to people who voted for Obama telling us what we need to do. These are Democrats. They voted for Obama, and a lot of them keep popping out of the woodwork instructing Republicans basically how to commit suicide.
All right, and Ann Coulter, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.